I'm Ray Cochran. I'm from Nutrients for Life, and today I want to briefly give you a description of where you might want to consider putting your garden beds and to get things rolling with them as well. So let's take a look at this garden bed. This garden bed is at a community school. Due to the COVID-19 pandemic, the school is not in at this point in time, so this garden bed is not in use, so it's in, I guess you would say, disrepair in somewhere in regards. Now, regarding where you want your garden bed located, one thing is I would not locate it against a building like this one or a fence. This garden bed is not as wide as the ones you will be getting. Your garden bed is going to be 4 feet wide, whereas this one's only roughly about 3 feet. So this one you can basically reach all the way across, but with the wider ones you will not be able to. As a result, I'd recommend you have complete access all the way around so that people can access it from any point. Another thing is, if you have more than one garden bed, I would recommend that you have them spaced about 3 to 4 feet apart at least. That is allowing for wheelchair accessibility. Make sure your garden bed is level, because we don't want it on a tilt or in any way, shape, or form. You also want to consider this, which is landscape fabric. Now, landscape fabric prevents weeds from growing, so you will lay it down on the ground prior to putting your garden bed on top of it. Now, one thing about this is make sure it extends beyond the edges of the garden bed. What that does is it prevents the growth of weeds and grass like this along the edges, and it just provides a lot easier maintenance. Another consideration is to make sure there is no tree canopy over top, because you require roughly about 8 to 10 hours of sunlight per day. As a result, I'd also recommend that they're facing either the south or the east to maximize the amount of sunlight. So that is the basic idea. I also would, one more thing is, do not put it into a depression or low-lying area, because that can lead to accumulation of water, especially if you get torrential rainfall or whatever, and that can lead to some issues. So no depression. So level, no depression, lots of sunlight, etc. Now, the soil then will be placed into your garden bed. The soil then may need to be fluffed up if it's compacted, or if it's really loose, you may want to basically compact it down prior to sowing it with your garden seeds. With your apparatus, you will also be given a rain barrel. And with the rain barrel, you should get a garden hose and a nozzle. So set that up just according to the instructions within the appropriate manual. So once we have it ready to go, I would then plant your seeds. Plant your seeds according to the instructions on the packages, the directions. And then what you will be doing is looking at watering it. Now, regarding the watering, I would recommend using your hand as a monitoring system. All you have to do is shove your fingers down into the soil and 1 to 2 inches, somewhere in that range, the root zone. And then if the soil is moist, then it's fine, but you do not want it to dry out. Now, dependent upon the temperature, the weather, the wind, etc., you're going to have to monitor it fairly often. These beds may dry out quicker than normal, so it's very important to consider watering it fairly frequently. I would be checking it about every 3 days. You may have to water it in July a lot more frequently, obviously, than in June and August. And if it's really windy, then definitely, because it will transpire a lot of moisture on the leaves. Timing, I would do it in the mornings, not during the heat of the day, and not even at the evening. The evening can actually lead to a higher humidity, which then would promote disease coming about. So early morning is the best time to do it. Now, as the plants start to grow, you then consider putting mulch around the plants, about depth of 2 to 3 inches. Now, mulch can be uncontaminated grass clippings, leaves, or even straw. What it does, it prevents weeds from growing up, and it also helps to keep the soil moist. So consider mulch. Now, as the plants are growing, okay, they will be sucking up nutrients. You will not need to apply any nutrients this growing season because the soil you've been given is nutrient rich already. However, as the plants are growing, they're sucking up these nutrients, and the big 3 nutrients they're using a lot of are nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium. The big 3 are the macronutrients. So you will have to replenish those in the next growing season and any subsequent growing season. Now you can do that by adding a compost or a fertilizer. If you're using a fertilizer, I would strongly recommend you get a vegetable approved fertilizer and look at the rates and the timing that you are to apply this fertilizer. I would look at probably a slow release or a water soluble format as well. Now, once the plants have grown, you then will harvest them. And after you have harvested your plants, then you'll be looking at preparing your garden bed for overwinter and subsequent growing seasons. So at that point in time, we can provide you with some more information, and we'll get you ready to go for another year of growing. So happy gardening, good luck, and thank you.